cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata. Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata. La 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 la, la casa del merengue.
My channel is kind of built on a little bit of pretentious nonsense, and I'm kind of excited to do another one of those videos right now. Now, I jokingly call it pretentious nonsense when really it's just my own brain, my own opinion, my own experience, and I'm excited to bring this because recently I've been doing a lot of simple videos, almost clickbaity style videos, and the reason for that is that I've been sick and I want views, and simple, catchy videos get views and they're easy to do while I'm sick. Now, I am still not 100% recovered, but I have my voice back for the most part, so let's talk about what you read in the title. How to enjoy video games. Now this might seem really dumb, and you clicked on this video to see just how dumb it is going to be. Alright, so it's just some generic gameplay commentary while some fucking douchebag 19-year-old tells me how to enjoy video games. This ought to be great. Well, keep in mind that this is very subjective, it's very personal, it's not based in logic, fact, and science, whatever. But without any further ado, how do I enjoy video games and how can you also benefit from what I do? The first thing you have to do is understand video games, and what I mean by that is understanding what goes into making them, what goes into running them, and what goes into making sure they are on your screen looking as good as they do, running as well as they do. Here's an example that pretty much summarizes the full thing. A lot of people are wondering why certain games aren't in 60 FPS. 60 frames per second is way better than 4K in my opinion. I want more games to run at 60 FPS, and if they have to run at 30 FPS on our peasant consoles, I don't want them to drop below 30 FPS. But a big part of enjoying video games and taking them for what they are is understanding what is required to make them do what they do. For instance, I know there are a lot of sacrifices that have to be made to the visual quality of a game to get 60 FPS on consoles, especially this generation of consoles. They don't exactly have the best processors in them. So if I see a game with a solid frame rate that doesn't have maybe the best, highest quality visuals, I understand that those are probably sacrifices that had to be made in development so that the game can run smoother and faster. Alright, so maybe that wasn't the best example because that's kind of vague, but basically, once you start learning about how consoles work, about how hardware works, about how software works, and I'm not an expert. I'm definitely not an expert. That's why I'm kind of staying vague here so I don't overstep my logical bounds and say something retarded. I have to stay within the realm of the things I understand and then not talk over or under anybody's head. But what I'm saying is once you understand what goes into video games and what has to happen to make them run and look the way they do, it can be a lot easier to appreciate them, and that goes a long way to overall enjoying your video games. Next on the list is really important, but I'm going to catch flack for it, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say here, and that is to lower your expectations. Now, I partly agree that a lot of the issues in modern day gaming, I don't know exactly how you want me to put it, the problem with modern video games is maybe that people have their standards too low, and so games don't reach the certain level that we all expect. The problem with that, though, is that usually people's higher standards are usually based in the past, which leads me to believe that old games weren't better, you were just more accepting of video games back then. Praising old mechanics, praising old video games, yeah, okay, a lot of them were good. I would say a lot of old games are very good, but I would also say most of them are bad. A lot are good, most are bad. Another example I can use for this is like when people tell me that old Call of Duty games were better. I don't think so. Now, I might like them more, like for instance, I enjoy Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops more than Modern Warfare Remastered, Black Ops 3, and Advanced Warfare. But old Call of Duty in my mind is less balanced, less optimized, just an overall clunkier, fuzzier experience. When I think of old Call of Duty, I think of lag, I think of bad hit detection, I think of clunky controls, I think of terrible graphics. So even with games like Black Ops 3, which I despise, I see what it does better than those previous games. I see the optimizations that it has made. I see what it has done to be a good game. So basically, learning to appreciate video games for what they are and what they're trying to do, even if you don't enjoy them, goes a long way, and also lowering your expectations. No, Call of Duty World War II isn't going to give you the feeling of when you were 10 years old sitting on your living room floor playing Medal of Honor on your PlayStation 2. Does that seem specific? Well, that's because I'm describing myself. Halo 5 was never going to make you feel like you did when you played Halo 3. The new Smash Brothers just doesn't seem to have the charm that the original one did. I'm not going to say it's rose-tinted glasses or you're blinded by nostalgia, but at the same time, you might want to look back and go, were old games better? Are my expectations set too high? Because if your expectations are set to, I used to feel this and now I don't feel it anymore, you're never going to have that expectation filled. Like I said in a previous video, more pertaining to Call of Duty, is the only way to make Call of Duty great again is to get into a time machine, go back to when you were 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, and go play Modern Warfare for the first time. Go play Modern Warfare 2 for the first time. Even just 5 years ago, if you were into a video game that you played with your friends and you really enjoyed and you loved playing it, and now you're upset that these other games aren't giving you that feeling, well, prepare to be upset for a long time. Your friends have changed. Consoles have changed. Games have changed. And if you objectively look at that game you used to play, you realize it's not as good as you thought it was. You were just younger, you were more naive, you were more innocent, whatever it might be. It is extremely lucky to get an experience that can give you the feelings you had from years ago or from a completely different video game. Okay, so that one was a little bit messy, but the next thing I really wanted to say, and this is kind of the meat of the video, even though that actually got way deeper than I wanted it to, but I'm going to keep that all in, even though it's a bit of a mess. This next part's important, and that is that you need to look at every video game for what it is. Every video game has a different level of difficulty, a different graphical style, a different way that it runs, a different complete style of gameplay. And I'll do a comparison that you've never heard before. Call of Duty versus Battlefield. The more I think about debating those games, the more I realize that an actual debate as to which one is better is irrelevant. Now you can discuss the features in between, and it's fun to argue with people about it, and honestly it is video games at the end of the day. You know, you can argue about it for a long time, but ultimately you're going to play whatever the hell you want, and that person's going to play whatever the hell they want. You're not going to say Call of Duty doesn't have full dedicated servers, and an avid Call of Duty player is going to go, oh my god, you're right, I'm done with COD. Just like if you point out a Counter-Strike Go player and say, hey, fuck you, you're basically playing a game from 1998. They're gonna keep playing it because that's the game they enjoy. But back to Call of Duty versus Battlefield, the reason it doesn't work is that Call of Duty is an arena-style, Twitch action shooter. It's got what I would call super pseudo-realism. Everything that your character does, for the most part, makes sense, but it's still very, very video gamey. And Battlefield is a pseudo-milsim style Twitch shooter. And you might get mad at me for saying that Battlefield's a Twitch shooter, but I've even heard people like Matimio and Level Cap and Jack Frags call Battlefield a Twitch shooter and use words like Twitch mechanics. So don't jump down my throat about that. I know for every rational Battlefield fan, there's like 2 kids that probably actually dress up in full military outfits. They hop on, they're doing actual callouts. It's a big deal to them. They feel like little soldiers. It's very cute. And no hate, that's how I used to feel. But either way, you have to learn to appreciate each game for what it is and the experience that it's trying to deliver. Even if you don't like it, you still, I think, need to appreciate it. This goes a long way to not just being positive about video games or thinking as an optimistic, genuinely enjoying them by realizing that this game delivers this experience, this game delivers this experience. These are not the same games. These are not the same experiences. Comparing 2 different games in 2 different genres is ridiculous. Comparing 2 different games in the same genre that have completely different styles is ridiculous, especially if your end goal is to prove that your preferred game is right. People say that Destiny needs to be more complex, it needs to be more difficult, it needs to be better, it needs to be more like Halo or Final Fantasy or Borderlands. Why can't Destiny just be like Destiny? Why can't we have kind of an easy game that has difficult things you can do in it, but a overall pretty easy game that you could just kind of grind, listen to music, and hang out with your friends while you play? Like, why can't that exist alongside games that are much more difficult? That's why a lot of people are getting irritated with the toxicity from like difficulty gamers. I don't know what you would call them, just the gamers that play things like Cuphead and Crash Bandicoot and Dark Souls and Bloodborne and just any game that is more difficult than other games, less casual. Now, I don't think that toxicity needs to be something we need to put handcuffs on, but there is a little bit of a concern I have with these people because you don't realize that, hey, not every game needs to be at the hardest difficulty. You have to learn to appreciate games where they are. Another great example is Call of Duty's campaigns. Call of Duty's campaigns are not necessarily hard, they're not complex, they're not really that groundbreaking in their stories, but you play them because they kind of deliver a cinematic action movie style thing. There's emotion, there's some drama, there's a lot of shooting, there's a lot of explosions, slow motion, it's a big fucking deal. And that's why I thought it was kind of sad when a lot of my favorite shooters just kind of started copying the Call of Duty campaign formula. And no, I play Call of Duty for that formula. I would play Halo, or I would play Doom or Wolfenstein or Battlefield's campaigns for a different experience. Not every game that comes out needs to be Mega Man. Not every game that comes out needs to be Cuphead. And a lot of you guys are probably thinking, well, duh, Boom, what is the point of this video? Well, from everything I just said, what I'm trying to get across here is that you have to not expect a video game today to make you feel like one did 5 years ago or 10 years ago. You have to understand how video games work, even more than I do. Just like how I started learning about how TV shows and movies use certain sounds and lighting and different cues to elicit certain emotions, I appreciate movies and TV shows differently, but overall I appreciate them more. And I'm starting to do the same with video games, hardware, and software, trying to figure out how my favorite hobby really operates, and it helps me to appreciate it. And then once you have those two things, and then you start appreciating every game for what it is, instead of comparing it to that other thing you prefer. Not being able to appreciate something that you don't like, not being able to go, I hate Call of Duty, I will never play it, but at the same time it delivers a very fast-paced Twitch action experience, and I understand why people enjoy it. Good day, sir. COD is the prime example because it gets shit on the most, but I mean honestly, you could say that about anything. Like, I don't like Cuphead, it's too difficult, it just kicks my ass, but I appreciate its difficulty, and the gamers that enjoy games that have a higher level of difficulty. See, all you have to do is think like me, and then everything will be better. If only everybody had my brain. No wrong thinking here. Only think like Boom. Only think like the one Boom. If you don't think like the one Boom, you're stupid. No, obviously that's not what I'm saying. I'm just sharing how I enjoy video games, and maybe I made you think about something, and maybe I just made you mad, and maybe you're gonna get irritated with this video, but those are just some things I had on my mind. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you didn't, that's fine. This is how I enjoy video games, and I'm not ashamed to share it. So, hope you guys enjoyed. See you when I see you. Goodbye.